everyone knows that I'm like a... I mean, I think everyone by now knows I'm like a soulsborne no life. And so, like, I think people would definitely want to hear my opinions about this one. Like I said, as soon as I saw this, I was like, this has to be a DLC. I saw the Shadow Giants. I'm like, this has to be a DLC. There's no way. Same with this. When I was looking at this, I was like, this is a whole new area. I don't recognize this. I don't recognize the structures here. This has to be a whole new area. This is another thing. I'm like, so like, I'm guessing this is gonna have to do with night and daytime like shifting. I'm just guessing that. Still though, I'm really uneasy about this. The fact that it's co-op based, which I really do not like. And the reason why I really do not like this, especially after what I heard going on, it's when Sony said they bought like the parent company of From Software. So my main worry is this becoming another fucking Fortnite. And what I mean by that is like how it's like, oh yeah, this won't be all. We're gonna release like skins, classes, lots of DLC so we can snag more money out of your fucking pockets. That's what I'm worried about. I remember seeing this and I was like, oh, that looks like the entrance to the DLC area. But then I took a closer look and I was like, wait, that's not the DLC area. That's a completely new area. From Software. Yeah, call it Bethesda. Yeah. I saw that as well, and I was like, that's an entirely new running animation.
Seekers of redemption, you were chosen. Thrown together by forces beyond.
I kind of like how they went from horses to birds now, and let me be honest with you, 10 times more useful, because the fact that it's a big ass open world and you had to like either take a horse or teleport to Graces. Now you can fly over everything, which is much more better. I really like that, especially if we look here. There's an Evergoal right there. There's a pathway down here, and I think if you look really closely there, I think that's another Evergoal or that's an elevator. There's an Evergoal right here and an Evergoal all the way over there. It looks like it's behind a bridge, and that's just, I think that's just another one of those like sorcerer towers and whatnot. And that's all I can say. That's another usual enemy camp. Now this, okay, this you can 100% tell this is a Scarlet Rot area. What I was told was that, yeah, they revoked our horse privileges. Now this I immediately knew it was the Scarlet Rot area. Why? If you look now, first off, Scarlet. Second off, you can see the Scarlet Aeonia or whatever it's called, the fungus, all over the place, and not to mention behind my head, like right there. See that guy right there? You got he's one of the Scarlet zombie dudes that you run into in Scarlet Rot areas. So another thing I heard, by the way, was that this game is going to be like it's like run based, where every run you start in this game, the map is randomly generated. So it's going to be like a different run every time. It's like going into imagine Elden Ring. You beat Elden Ring and then you go to New Game Plus, everything is suddenly different. That's what they kind of pulled off here, and it's co-op based. Something else I also noticed here was the looks. I looked at this guy and I was like, why the hell is there an eagle? I don't know whether to laugh at that or whether to just say, all right, you better be cooking here. But this was the most laughable thing I've ever seen. You either had to take the turn at becoming a furry or something else. But this was just one of the most questionable things I've seen. It's gonna attract the fucking furry people. Let me tell you that. I also saw this. I need to turn my head. I also saw this right here. I was like, okay, that's definitely a class. And then there's this guy who is the basic knight and whatnot, who has a crossbow arm. And then this is where I immediately said, okay, hold the fucking phone. Everyone knows I'm a soulsborne no life. Everyone knows. Like if you watch me, you know I am like. It's my bloodline. It's my gaming bloodline. Soulsborne is my gaming bloodline. As soon as I saw this, I dropped everything. I said, "What's going on here? Why is the centipede demon from Dark Souls 1 here? You can't tell me that's not the centipede demon. Like if you pull up here, go here. 1 second. Look at that. Look at that. I can't really... Can I zoom in? I can. Look at that. Hold on. It's kind of hard to... Yep, it's the same. Yeah. You get the same eye, same arm. Look at that. Same thing. This is where like it even has the same arms. Like you can see there's the bottom centipede arm and there's the top centipede arm. Like what? Why? Like why are you bringing the centipede demon back? Like I get it. Maybe it's for the nostalgic vibes, but still, why is it suddenly back? Okay. So this right here was kind of nice to see. I was like, okay, there is some kind of... Oh, okay, I was about to say that wasn't a co-op combo. That was just someone following up with an attack. That's a new unique riposte animation. This is the eagle. For a second I was like, oh my god, we can fly now? But then when I looked closer, I was like, no, wait, this is a class. Only a specific class can fly. Which is interesting. And then there's a Zamor Knight.
Tragedy must be averted.
Now, this is where I got even much more confused. I was like, why is the Firekeeper here? Like, this has me question everything. I'm like, what? Is the Dark Souls universe actually merged with Elden Ring now? What's going on?
And for that, I need your help.
Uh-huh. Okay, hold on. Let's go back here a little bit. There was also something I noticed here. What is this? There's this blue tree or whatever that caught my eye. Which either has to serve as a checkpoint or something else.
Stand tall.
Probably not.
The night.
When I saw that as well, I was like, you finally give us the ability to wall run?
Is far from over.
And this is where I lost everything. This is where I said, what the fuck is going on? Like, if you haven't played Dark Souls and you don't know who this guy is, I'll just put it short. This guy's name is the Nameless King, and he is like the second hardest boss of Dark Souls 3. Personally, for me, second hardest, kind of. Not really. Personally, for me, he was pretty easy because he had a pretty simple moveset. But he was known to be one of the hardest bosses from Dark Souls 3. And I got so confused as to why he's suddenly back in Elden Ring. He is not hard for me. He's not that difficult. Personally for me, the moves a boss has, the more hyper focused I am. Except if it's Radon. If it's fucking Concert Radon, that's just straight bullshit you're dealing with. How's it going, Radio Man? Not to mention, that's the same move he does from Dark Souls 3. That's the same move he pulls in Dark Souls 3, where he flies in a circle around you, summons a lightning spear, he throws it at you, and then he follows up with a strike, with a downward strike. The fact that he missed, but when the player didn't have to dodge. This is a new weapon. If you... Yeah, that is a new weapon. That's a weapon covered in scrolls. This is a new enemy. I've never seen this enemy before, but if I look if you look closely, okay, I immediately notice some details and features here. If you look closely at the head, here, let me move myself out of the way. If you look closely at the head, it resembles the same features as Ludwig from Bloodborne. Where's the Master Sword now? I have no idea. But I'm guessing this is some sort of mutant, Kaled Crow or whatever the hell that is. Something from fucking Texas. Elden Ring, Texas. And whatnot. But I noticed that it had the same... Yeah, it looks big hippo and whatnot. But I noticed it had the same features as Ludwig.
Any and all who dare approach.
This is an entirely new thing. I have no idea what the hell this is. Like, I saw the eyes. I'm like, this has to be some sort of eldritch thing. Now, this is what piqued my interest the most. A three-headed dog. And something I immediately noticed, like, me who is like, you know, immediately looks at a boss, figures out what it does. Left dog, left head, let's say, left head of the dog uses a chain. And then, if I had to guess,
Bands together.
yeah, one of them uses a chain and sword. And then the middle one uses a sword. Left one uses a chain, middle one uses the sword. Right one probably breathes fireballs, if I had to guess.
The life of the Night Lord.
Life of the Night Lord. I don't know if I like missed out on some Elden Ring lore, because I can't, like, Night Lord sounds familiar, but I can't exactly remember. Elden Ring Nightreign. Now here's the funny part. Lots of people were saying, oh yeah, this is gonna be co-op. This is gonna be co-op focused. Why did it do that? This is gonna be co-op focused. And I thought, okay, it's gonna be co-op focused, but what if I just want to play it by myself? Cause let me be fucking honest with you. I got no one to fucking play this shit with. Knowing my close friends, they don't want to go through hell. They look at a FromSoft game and they're like, oh god, that's hell, that's torture, yada yada. Like, I'm a lone VTuber. So the probability of me playing this alone is high. But once again, I always prefer to play it alone. So it's absolute insanity. FromSoft games are easy. Oh yeah, let me watch you fight Concert Radon. From pre-patch Concert Radon, it took me 4 hours to kill Concert Radon. Now, okay, believe it or not, Sword Saint Ishin took me 16 hours to beat in Sekiro. And like, but he was so fun. It was so satisfying to kill him. The way you finish him off, amazing. But Concert Radon, after killing him and just watching a fucking femboy go like, hey, I love you, brother, be my consort. Yeah, I'm gonna force some incest on you. Yeah, fuck that shit. That's the worst, shittiest DLC ending I've ever seen. I'm sorry, Miyazaki, but you shouldn't have cooked. You shouldn't have cooked that ending. Oh my lord. But like worst case scenario. Once again, when I looked at this, I was like, oh, thank God, it's not gonna end. It's not gonna end on a second DLC, because that was the shittiest ending I've ever experienced in a FromSoft game. But once again, as soon as I heard it was like it's a different game, I was like, all right, never mind. You might have lost my interest, but I'm still gonna play it anyway because it's a FromSoft game. It wasn't that bad. Yeah, well, it wasn't that bad, but once again, if you're like a Soulsborne no life like me, it was pretty shit. And let me explain why it was pretty shit. There was lots of other options, lots of other better options. You could have given us Godwin, you could have given us America, fucking hell, you could have given us an outer god to fight. Have you played Dark Souls 2? Yeah, I've played I've played every single Soulsborne game, every single FromSoft game. I've beaten every single FromSoft game about like I can't even, like, more than 10 times almost. I can only say more than 10 times because the only FromSoft game I didn't bother beating so much was Demon Souls. That's it. Dark Souls 2 ending was horrible. But it was the same thing. It had the same story. It had the same storyline. Like Dark Souls 2's ending was just, oh, you sit on the throne and you keep the darkness at bay, just like Dark Souls 1. If you think Dark Souls 2's ending was horrible, look at how Dark Souls 1 ends. You light the fire. And you just light the place aflame. But when you look at it, when you look at the lore, realistically, you're literally just a sacrifice. You're literally just a sacrifice. So if you're telling me the Dark Souls 2 ending was much more worse than the Dark Souls 1 ending, then I don't think you've looked at the lore enough. I'm just gonna throw that out. Because in Dark Souls 2, you at least live. But you're just sealed in a throne. But majority of the time, you know, if you actually want to, you know, be the main character and whatnot, then you choose the bad ending in Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2, which is just walking away, and you just let the darkness take over. And once again, if you when you look at, if you ask any ordinary Soulsborne addict or Soulsborne no life, which Soulsborne game has the best ending, I can probably bet you every single one of them is gonna say Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3 by far had the best ending, and it's easy to fucking explain why. It's super easy to fucking explain why. If you've played Dark Souls 1 back then, right? The Dark Souls backdash to not die in real life, basically. But if you played Dark Souls 1 back in like 2010, 2012, somewhere back there. How's it going, fat man? If you played Dark Souls around that time, and then you played Dark Souls 3 around 2017 or 2018, I think Dark Souls 3 came out around 2016 or 17, somewhere around there. If you played Dark Souls 1 and then moved on to Dark Souls 3, you cry. You cry. Why do you cry? Because in the ending, you fight the final boss. It plays Gwyn's theme, and everyone knows who Gwyn is. If you've played Elden Ring or any Soulsborne game and you don't know who Gwyn is, you haven't looked at the lore so much, or you haven't even bothered reading a tiny bit of the lore, because every Soulsborne addict knows who the hell Gwyn is. And the moment his theme played in Dark Souls 3, that's immediately when the piano, the bling bling blowing, like it won everyone's hearts. It won everyone's hearts. I was literally, I don't recall how old I was. I think I was like 15, 16 at the time. I cried. I was like, oh my god, it's me. I'm fighting me from Dark Souls 1. I'm fighting me who has beaten the first game. Oh my god. And it's why I always tell everyone who's played at least Dark Souls. I know, it's why I tell everyone who like plays Elden Ring, I'm like, oh, you want to play Dark Souls 3? Play Dark Souls 1 first. Play 1 first, then move on to 3. A lot of people, and what pissed me the absolute hell off is when people decided to jump straight to 3, and they were like, yeah, I don't know what's this here. It's just a boss that uses a bunch of movesets. I'm like, I just look at him and I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. You haven't even played Dark Souls 1. Like, once again, I feel like I'm judging too harshly on the people who just jump straight into the Soulsborne games with having no clue what they're getting into. Like they get into it and they're like, oh my god, it's a really hard game. Yeah, it's a really hard game with a beautiful fucking story. So once again, it's a whole trilogy that gets easily misunderstood. As now, don't get me wrong as well, Dark Souls 2. I'm gonna drop it straight on top of everyone. I think everyone who says Dark Souls 2 is terrible are fucking idiots. I'm dropping it right there. You wanna know why I call them fucking idiots? Here's exactly why. I played Dark Souls 2 like when it released. Let me tell you this. No one gave an absolute fuck that it was terrible. No one gave an absolute singular shit that it was terrible. Here's the funnier part, alright? This is what made me laugh at the entire fucking haters of Dark Souls 2. I went through that whole game. I was, how old was I? I was like 14, 13 at the time. I laughed my fucking ass off, not knowing that you had to level, what was it? You had to level something to increase the iframes of your rolling. And guess what? Guess fucking what? I learned how to time every single fucking attack in that game. And the proof is in my fucking Twitch clips, where I came to Sir Alon and I dodged every single one of his attacks. Funnier part, I didn't even level my iframes. It was fucking laughable. The fact that a lot of people were just crying at how, oh, we have to level your iframes. Womp fucking womp. Learn to fucking dodge. And then when you play Dark Souls, if you go from Dark Souls 2 then to fucking Dark Souls 3, you immediately notice the difference in iframes. What did I build in Dark Souls 2? So back then, I wasn't aware of builds, believe it or not. I was a guy who just only cared about leveling what I needed. So for example, I remember too, my level was 345 way back in like 2015, 14. It was my build, it wasn't even a direct build. My build was literally just made to like use almost anything for any scenario. I wasn't like any of those guys where it's like, I built strength, I built sorcery, I built dex. No, I build whatever the fuck I need. So for example, and people would like usually argue like, oh, but you need a build to like for the stats to proc and whatnot. I'm like, who the fuck gives a shit about the stats? Who gives a shit? Like, I get it. All of you like stats and whatnot, blah blah. It's almost like I feel like they put their nerd glasses on. They say, yeah, it's the stats, the stats and whatnot. I'm like, oh, I don't give a fuck. Let me tell you this. When I first played Elden Ring, immediately, I think as soon as I got to the Godskin duo, I just switched up. I said, all right, I'm not resorting to melee. I'm gonna start using sorcery now. What did I do? I just leveled my sorcery, and then I just killed the Godskin duo. That's it. You don't have to proc the stats. You don't have to like make the build to get the correct damage or anything. No, as long as you know what you're doing, you fucking win. So once again, I'm kind of like, I'm definitely on that other side of understanding how I play soulsborne games. You use everything to your disposal. You don't make a build. You use whatever the game gives you. Use it to your disposal. Use it to your advantage. Don't leave it at the side. It's useful for fucking something and whatnot. But yeah, like once again with Dark Souls 2, it's a game that I feel like a lot of people just frown upon just because they sucked at it. They sucked at it. They didn't know how to play it. They just sucked at it. They were like, yeah, this game's shitty. No, you just sucked at it. I'm throwing it right there. You just sucked at it. So that's pretty much, the controls wasn't good. I'll admit, on PC I was a console player, but I do also have to admit, Dark Souls 2. What is this? I was discussing about Nightreign, but then I also just decided to drop the fact that if you just call Dark Souls 2 shit, then you're just shit at the game. Simple as that. But yeah, no, I do have to admit, the controls in Dark Souls 2 were like the most weirdest fucking thing. Not to like, I think the only thing I got really annoyed about in Dark Souls 2 was how slow was the healing. Dark Souls 2 was bad? Huh, you were just shit at the game. I literally just already went through about how when people who just call Dark Souls 2 bad are just really terrible at the game. But as I was saying, the parry was really bad. Oh, 110% the parry was horrible. Like, okay, so the parry for PvP, super shit. Super shit. But like, it was something only a fool would get parried in Dark Souls 2. One of the problems I had with Dark Souls 2 was having to get adjusted with the melee. And like, what I mean by that is, if you're like moving backwards or moving to the left and you push attack, your character attacks towards the direction that you're moving towards, which was one of the worst parts that you had to get used to. So every time you wanted to attack, you had to move towards the enemy, which was really fucking weird. Yeah, it was really fucking weird. Once again, though, I got used to that. Which was like, once again, I feel like I'm one of the only guys who doesn't complain about Dark Souls 2. Everyone was like, yeah, this game's shit, it's mechanic shit, everything's shit. And then there's me who's just like, fucking cope with it. Fucking deal with it. Learn what you can use to your advantage. But once again, I have to fucking admit that the mechanics were just shit. But still, I fucking coped with it. But as for the endings, right? For like Dark Souls 2, what? I always just chose the leave option. They did add the best sword in the game. Oh, are you talking about the Artorias Greatsword? I feel like you're talking about the Artorias Greatsword. When they added the Artorias Greatsword, I was actually really happy. I used it a lot in PvP as well. The Guts Greatsword. Okay, well that's just the most simplest Greatsword. Believe it or not, there was almost entirely no point in using the Guts Greatsword. Why? Because if you wanted to use a Greatsword, then just dual wield the Smelter Greatswords. Why? Well, use a special attack. Thank me later. That was also my main PvE weapon. I didn't use a straight sword, I used a straight sword for PvP, but for PvE, I used dual Smelter Greatswords. I used the Magic Smelter Greatsword and the Fire Smelter Greatsword. Those were my main go-to weapons for PvE, because they just absolutely melted anything with its special attack. For Soralon though, I use just a straight sword or whatever. If you look back at my Twitch clips, hold on. You know what? Hold on. If you literally go to my Twitch right here. Let's go to hello channel. Hello. There we go. It's down here on Oblivious. Yeah, right here. Where's it at? Right here. This right here, this wasn't the usual straight sword I use. I think I was using this because it was it was for the range. But beforehand, I used to use the Hedonite Greatsword. But as you can tell here, by the way, this was me fighting Sir Alon after, I think it's been 9 years. 9 years since I've fought Sir Alon, and I did it hitless. 9 fucking years, and I managed to kill him hitless. And once again, whenever I look back at this, right? Yeah, this was after 9 years. After 9 years, me fighting Sir Alon hitless. And then there's the seppuku. And like, once again, this was a clear fucking sign that anyone who just called Dark Souls 2 bad were just shit at the game. You were either just shit at the game or I'm just built different. I'm just saying. I may sound like an egotistical idiot, but I'm just saying you were fucking shit at the game. Like I still couldn't, like I wasn't even surprised either. But I was I was kind of surprised. I was like, holy shit, I managed to do it hitless after 9 years. After 9 years, I did it hitless. But that's pretty much it really for like Dark Souls 2. I'm just a Soulsborne no life. If have me play Dark Souls, I can probably just like do almost any challenge if I want. But once again, part of me has kind of left the Soulsborne trilogy, and the reason why was because once again, I kind of played through the entire Soulsborne series by myself, and I didn't really get the co-op experience so much. And what I mean by that is like I see how like a lot of people play with friends and whatnot, and like they get to have the experience together. They die, they laugh at each other, and I kind of looked at that and I was like, man, I feel lonely. But and now when I look at Nightreign, I'm like, yeah, this is gonna make me feel even more lonely. But once again, I'm just gonna be that one guy who just plays another Soulsborne game by myself, fucking absolutely dominates it, and then just watches all the haters complain. And that's just me in a Soulsborne game. Not to mention, something I also mentioned was let me solo her. I talked about it in a video how I gave absolutely no fucks about him, and let me explain to you why. Like, what now? From that Twitch clip we saw, how do you think I know how to beat Sir Alon hitless? I'll simply just throw it out. I've soloed him for many people. Why did I soloed him for many people? It's simple. It's simple as it is. I soloed him because I really was in so love with his seppuku animation. I was only a kid at the time. Not a kid. I was like a teenager. I was like 14, and I was like a weeb. I was into like the weeb shit. And when I saw someone's hammering stuff, and when I saw the Sir Alon seppuku animation, I was like, oh my god, that's the coolest shit ever. I want to see that shit again. So I literally started having I started having people summon me for Sir Alon, and I would just solo Sir Alon for them. And then I just did the same for like other bosses. I started soloing Soul of Cinder. I started soloing, oh my god, my favorite boss to solo was Medir. Oh my god, Medir was the best boss I loved to solo. The reason why is because I loved his music, I loved his boss fight, I loved his second phase. Oh my god, I loved everything about soloing that boss. And it was just kind of funny to me how when Elden Ring released, everyone was talking about, yo, have you heard of Let Me Solo Her? I'm like, I was like, what? Well, yeah, who's Let Me Solo Her? And then they're like, oh, it's the guy who solos Millennia for people. I'm like, cool. I'm just throwing it straight. I'm one of the, to me, it was like, cool. That's been a thing for like ages. But let me also explain to you how he rose up. It's pretty simple how he rose up. Elden Ring was the first Soulsborne game to get recognized worldwide. Therefore, it had... Am I the Rizzler? No. Definitely not. Elden Ring was the first game to release worldwide. And and this was when a lot of people were coming into a Soulsborne games not understanding the concept how something is super fucking difficult, and you need to learn how to get through the patterns and whatnot. And what I mean by that is you fight a boss over and over and over again, and you learn its moveset and whatnot. But then there was the whole let me solo her thing, where what the heck, bro? I was just saying my goodbyes. Well, we do have a policy where if you say anything that's brain rot, you're obligated to either get timeout and whatnot. I didn't time out, but I did delete the message because it's cringe. Yeah, you remembered. We don't allow brain rot here. If you say brain rot, you are a free target. But just a small warning there. But as I was saying, right? A lot of people were like, I can't beat Melania, she's too hard, and then like let me sell her, just like goes like, oh, don't worry, I'll just beat her for you and whatnot. So that's when everyone was like, oh my god, yeah, let me solo her, woohoo, beat Melania for me. I was just looking at it like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? This is just normal. And then it was kind of funny because like when I heard he got popular for it, I was like, what? Like with some small honesty, I was a little jealous. I was like, I've been doing this shit longer than him, and he got popular for it. What? Oh crap, and whatnot. But it was just something I got over with in a small time. I think like I literally just stopped soloing as soon as I started getting into streaming. I think I can't exactly remember when. It was like I stopped soloing around like, was it like it was like 2023 somewhere. I think the end of 2023, I think it was, yeah, when I stopped soloing. And then when the DLC released, I soloed 1,000 Mesmers, and like literally I think it took me like almost 2 months to solo 1,000 Mesmers. So then after that, it was just, oh well, DLC's done. I'm done. I'm gonna drop Soulsborne for now and just move on to other games and whatnot. So yeah, but now there's Nightreign, which is co-op focused. So this has me just wonder. I'm like, can I solo some bosses? Can I solo bosses? But either way, it's something I am looking forward to, but at the same time I'm fearing a lot of negative impacts. Obviously you can, yeah. Are you going to main a class? I don't know. Okay, let me. Everything scales down if you play solo. Yeah, basically. Oh, everything scales down if you play solo. Okay, that's nice. There's no stats. Oh, no stats. Okay, interesting. So, interesting. Honestly, kind of like an MMO. I see. Okay, honestly, me throughout every single bit of my Soulsborne games, I always just go whatever has a sword. The sword is always my option. Or whatever can like whichever class has like the most mobility. So like for example, like I as long as I can just roll and hit them, then I'm happy. Big sword or little sword? Depends. It depends on like what's the timing windows for the swords. For example, it takes like a split second to swing my sword, and it takes a full second to swing my greatsword. So it's gonna depend on which one I'm more comfortable with and which one helps me a lot more. Which one I can take advantage of the most. So most likely, I mean, this dude right here with the sword and shield, he already he looks like my number one go-to. The guy, like him with the sword and shield, he already looks like my number one go-to. Sure, there's the eagle that can fly with halberd and whatnot, or the barbarian that does heavy strikes. But no, the guy with the sword and shield already looks like my number one go-to. Unless, you know, there's another character with a big scythe. If there's a character with a big scythe, I'm gonna use that character. But yeah, the guy with the sword and shield, he looks like my number one go-to. I'm always with this. I always go with the standard. I'm not so huge into like sorcery or magic. But yeah, always the melee option for me. Always the melee option. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna be playing it on release. Definitely, probably gonna have like another marathon with it, like I did with the Elden Ring release, where I just played it for like 16 hours straight. I played it till the very end. I played Elden Ring till the very end. I finished that game, and I finished the DLC in 16 hours. I was the first VTuber to finish the Elden Ring DLC. First VTuber. I wasn't the world's first, but I was the first VTuber to finish the Elden Ring DLC. I give myself a pat on the back for that. which is kind of hilarious. But to kind of end this certain discussion off, can't wait to play it. I hope I don't see any Fortnite Battle Pass shit. Can't wait to see if I can like join people and see if I can solo their bosses just for funsies. Can't wait, dude. Can't wait. Definitely gonna have a marathon about it.